Netflix, the top-performing equity on the S&P 500 this year, surging 10% after hours after posting strong international subscriber numbers. Some big names in the hedge fund world, however, have been speaking out about Netflix. Carl Icahn recently sold his stake, making $1.6 billion on the transaction. And David Einhorn had this to say about the company, comparing the flagship show House of Cards to the sleep drug Ambien. I'm not so sure if that's a sell signal, but it is for him. He's not a buyer. Let's get out to Bloomberg News reporter Rodrigo Orihuela. Rodrigo, the hedge fund world and some of the big names in it starting to turn against the company and the stock, but for Netflix, they're delivering with the subscriber numbers.
They're delivering with the subscriber numbers, that's true. They've had impressive increases there, 70% almost in international subscriptions, up over the last quarter. But their actual numbers, the actual revenue, the earnings, it's not that solid yet, especially the earnings. The profits aren't, there's still a lot of work to do there.
We used to talk a lot about the US market almost exclusively, and we didn't talk much about the international market because it was so much smaller. But when you look at the international business of Netflix, do you think it would be likely to continue in the next few quarters? And I've also got to ask the question, what are the next big markets that Netflix will be entering?
Well, there's two aspects to that thing. There's still a lot of space for them to grow in the international markets where they are, especially in Europe. They've been entering Europe progressively, and there's still a lot of scope for growth. And they're expected to open up in more European countries. Italy and Spain are the two major ones this year, and also this very quarter they're opening in Japan. And then they expect to maybe open in China next year, which should also be an interesting move for them.
Rodrigo, we've had the original dramas, David Einhorn comparing one of them to a sleep drug, but when you look at the original series, they've quite clearly been a key driver for growth. How important will that continue to be for business, and when do we start talking about them going into the film business a little bit more?
It's very important for them, or at least that's what the company is selling to the markets. They say that 90% of their subscribers are engaging, is the word they use, with original content, and that's why they're producing more and more. And this year we're expecting them to release their first films, which will be a move away from only making series as they did till now. And they're also starting to produce films in series in other languages. They've got a Spanish language one coming out later this year.
Rodrigo, great to have you with us this morning. Bloomberg's Rodrigo Orihuela joining us from Madrid.